So that's who I am. Lovely to meet you, Ben. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about beyond human constraints, and a little bit closer. Better? Okay. Is that good? Okay. Can you hear me at the back? Fantastic. Okay, great. And I'm going to talk about the emergence of what I call the autonomous AI enterprise. We're going to start with a little bit of a paradox. We've never had so much data, we've never had so much innovation, and we've never had so much funding. Yet the challenge for many companies today is, why aren't they making the right decisions? What's stopping them from using all these technologies and all these gains? So when I was writing the book, I sort of posed myself several questions. I said, what if we could actually design an organization from scratch which was intelligent from day one? Because part of the challenge is decision paralysis. I've spoken to hundreds of CFOs and CEOs over the last 20 years. They're all stuck. We want to do something on climate. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to make decisions. So with AI, I'm going to talk about a new type of AI or a new type of enterprise that could emerge in the next couple of years and could be very feasible. Now, climate generally is at a new inflection point. We've never known so much about climate, and we can know so much more than we did even 5, 10, 15 years ago, and we can know with greater certainty than we ever have before. But also something else has happened. Thanks to people like you in the last 10 years or so, and particularly in the last 5 or 6 years, we've seen dramatic falls in the cost of technologies. Everything from AI, solar energy, storage, battery storage. Yet legacy firms, and I call them legacy firms, that's probably all your clients as well, and also my clients, but just to separate a new type of firm from legacy, let's call them legacy firms. They're trapped by their own inertia, human decision-making, human bias. And this is what's stopping people from making proper decisions around, why aren't I making optimal decisions? Now, what if decision-making wasn't the bottleneck? What if you could really convert that into an advantage by using AI? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So meet Aztec Punks. It's not a real company, don't worry. No one would ever name that company Aztec Punks. But it's a thought experiment, and I want to try and provoke you into thinking about a different type of enterprise that is likely to emerge with pretty high probability in the next couple of years. This company has no humans. By the way, it's a chip manufacturer, or it's a chip components manufacturer, which is borderless. It has no CEO. It has no management team. It has no board. It has a single VC, but it has no bias, right? This type of firm reads the world in a very different way. It is constantly digesting information, data, looking at things like production, consumer sentiment, climate, policy, water movements, and its algorithms goes to work immediately. Say, what do I need to optimize in order to reduce these risks, or how do I capture new types of opportunities? These types of firms are, people say, well, these are miles away. These are, distant future type of stuff. But I'm telling you that this is a very much an unassembled present today. We're already seeing the emergence of many of the technologies that make this possible today. So every single piece of technology to make an Aztec Punk work today is actually available today. It's just not assembled, right? The problem is largely orchestration, right? So many of climate tech and sort of AI-related companies in the last 5 or 6 years, we've all been growing in sort of a vacuum. We've all been doing our specialist thing. What if we start combining some of those things together? What type of organization could emerge over time? So we always say that assembly is not the problem, orchestration is the problem. But what happens when you bring all these together over time? Imagine the power of thousands of experts in different functions working 24/7, 365, optimizing, including for climate as well, right? These algorithms will go to work. They'll start minimizing energy usage, water wastage. They'll think about biomimicry in a very different way. Now, optimization, and that's a word that sounds a bit technical, but it's going to be the heart of how AI native firms will work over time, right? So Aztec won't have strategy offsites. They won't have internal meetings. They will just get to work at what they do best, which are they are designed to optimize. And these types of markets will feed in data, risk data, supply chain data, political data, violence data, port data, transport data. It's constantly ingesting data in order to optimize decisions. So the new competitive edge in the next couple of years is really around new types of market agility. Now, where does climate fit in? Climate is an optimization constraint, right? Climate is not a separate division. We're always trying to sell to CSOs and climate departments. In the future, that's not going to be the case. These types of firms will already look at those constraints and say, we are likely to see these types of risks, these types of resource constraints over time. How do I optimize for that today as part of my design process? Not as an afterthought, not as a CSO strategy, not as a sustainability strategy, but as part of the design process up front. That will happen, and that is happening. But there's something else that's happening. Do I have time? So yeah, there's something else that's also emerging. We shouldn't think about AI native firms as a new type of. It's a totally different type of species, right? If think about everything that we do, what if that was to change? What if we were to build these new types of AI native firms? So all they did were optimize, but actually, how would legacy firms that you and I work for, how would they respond to this type of firm in the next couple of years, the next 5 years, the next 6 years? Are you really going to be able to compete with AI agents that are working 24/7, 365? And that's a question for many firms that they need to answer, because fundamentally, I don't believe legacy firms can evolve at the same pace that AI is learning. Ben speaks about ChatGPT. Where will ChatGPT be in 5 years' time? Where will AI agents be in 5 years' time, right? So so I do force you to think about what's evolving in terms of AI and what types of organizational forms will come about, because these things will evolve very, very quickly. I think Elon Musk said something similar yesterday, that he thinks within 2 years we'll have something spectacular in AI, but he says many things. Now, so climate advantage can be made by design going forward. And that's what I want you to guys really think about this, right? And again, this isn't the future. This is very much the unassembled present today, right? AI learns at alarming rates. If it can learn everything of the human language, it can certainly figure out how to put an enterprise together going forward, how to optimize decisions, how to think about water, how to minimize energy, how to think about biomimicry. All that will be baked into the optimization. And where does climate fit in? Climate is no longer unknowable. It'll be part of the constraint that goes into the optimization algorithms over time, right? So again, when you're building great technology, think about where will it fit in into a future type of enterprise, right? And I put this boardroom and this AI here because the real contention in the next 5 or 6 years will be new forms of competitors coming up and challenging existing companies aggressively, right? So again, do we go from the boardroom, or will AI types of species firms just pop up independently and challenge the incumbents? Now, that brings me on to what I'm doing. So if the Aztecs are coming, if the Aztecs are coming, we are really trying to help companies to say, how can we help you get ahead of the pack, right? So we very much focus on how companies make decisions and how AI can sit next to you in making those decisions. Because again, a lot of climate tech has fallen into the laps of CSOs, sustainability departments, which is great, but it doesn't create business value. At the end of the day, we have to rewire lots of the stuff that we do to make sure it feeds into business value, because without ROI, it's incredibly difficult for firms to think about, should I adopt technology A or technology B? So rather facetiously, I'm calling it, we help human-led firms today, right? So in the future, they can compete in the next couple of years against AI-native firms, because that competition and that tension will come about very, very quickly. I think I'll close at that. I think one of the things that I would say is a couple of years ago, when my previous business went under, we decided to set up the new one in an AI fashion, not eating the entire dog food of becoming autonomous on day one. But over the last couple of years, we've managed to build an entire platform, which took me about 5% of the resources and 5% of the cost that my previous firm took. So I have been trying to eat the dog food, although I find it very challenging just to be fully autonomous. But that day will come. And now we're servicing pretty large companies. We're getting a huge amount of inbound coming in, because I think people are generally curious, but they're also nervous about what's around the corner. Lots of the CFOs that we talk to, they say, listen, we don't know how to calculate climate value or business value, so we have to try and figure out. But I'm telling you, there's something else coming. It's called AI native firms. It's fundamentally going to disrupt you. On that, I wish you all the best, and thank you for all your fabulous work.